The Chris Watts case is one of the most disturbing cases that I've ever seen.
Chris Watts is what we call a family annihilator. I haven't seen many cases like this because family annihilators usually commit after the murders. Chris didn't do that. Chris is also a narcissist. He is the most important person in his world, and he's also a psychopath. And a narcissistic psychopath is a really bad combo.
Hey guys, this is Alessia and welcome back to my channel. First up, I have this setup where I have tons of light surrounding me, and I did test it out. And I think this helped the quality look a bit better. Also, I did turn off wind reduction, so that's why you might hear my voice clear, but you might also still hear background noise. I'm not sure, but I'm just kind of testing out different settings to make sure that, you know, it gives you guys the best possible quality. However, this does make me look paler, and there's nothing wrong with being pale. I don't like the look it's giving me right now, but that's just the lighting, so what can you do? But today we're going to be talking about Chris Watts, aka the guy who murdered his family. Yep, you heard that right. Murdered his family. Why I chose this particular case, you may ask? Well, even though this happened in 2018, which now would be nearly 3 years ago, because this happened in the summer of 2018, people have been keeping up with it. It came up on my recommend on YouTube. People are talking about him. Also, there's like still updates. Like, even though this is solved, like we know who did this and everything, there's still updates coming about him. So that means it's still a kind of an ongoing crime, or like ongoing case, or ongoing thing. You know what I mean? Christopher Lee Watts, Chris Watts, was born on May 16th, 1985. He had a wife that was pregnant at the time, 15 weeks pregnant, with their unborn son named Nico, and she was born on January 10th, a day after my birthday. Whoa, 1984. So she was like a year older than him. So at the time that he did this, he was 33, which to me, he doesn't look 33. Or he didn't look 33 at the time, but hey, that's a whole different story. This took place in Frederick, Colorado in the States, and the murder occurred on August 13, 2018. So a little backstory, like I mentioned, Chris and his pregnant wife, Shanann, and two girls, Bella, who was 4, and Celeste, who was 3. Shanann went on a business trip and she returned back to the house at around 1:48 a.m. on August 13th, 2018, after being driven home by a friend or colleague named Nicole A. And apparently, you know, she was Shanann's best friend and she looked out for her. Now, this is why it's good to have very nosy, considerate, concerned neighbors, friends, etc. Because if it wasn't for Nicole and the neighbor, they probably wouldn't have figured this out as much as they did, and you'll see why.
In June, so 2 months prior to their death, Chris started dating this woman named Nikki. So he was having an affair, and I believe Shanann knew about this, but initially she didn't. So he was basically like cheating on her, even though they were gonna separate.
So when Shanann came home from the business trip, allegedly her and Chris had an argument, and Shanann knew about the mistress or the affair. Shanann was like, "You're never gonna see the girls again." So he strangled her, he choked her to death, he strangled her in the bed, and the girls came in. Chris told the girls that their mom was sick, but what ended up happening was according to his lawyer, he loaded Shanann's body into his truck and brought the 2 girls, and the older one was scared, like, "Daddy, what are you doing?" And then in the car, on his way to the oil tanks. Now, this is an important part. He worked at a petroleum area, like a remote area with oil tanks. Strangled one of his daughters to death as well, and the other daughter was like, "Daddy, are you gonna do to me what you did to her?" And then he grabbed the other one, and you could tell the other one was trying to fight back. She tried to resist because he had like scratch marks on his neck. She was trying to fight back, but the poor little girl unfortunately lost her life from a monster. You know, they say we have monsters under our beds when we're kids, when our actual monsters can be people we trust. Let that sink in. He drove their bodies to the remote area he worked. Thought he wasn't gonna get caught, or maybe he was gonna admit it. Like, where you work. Like, that's kind of like, obviously they're gonna start suspecting you, right? Like, it doesn't really make sense. But there's 2 oil tanks, and he dumped one of them in one and one in the other, and buried Shanann and Nico, the unborn son, in a shallow grave nearby with the bed sheets. People who had to dig their bodies out, they were disturbed, they were traumatized because these little girls were in this big oil tank. Their bodies were like dismantled, like terrible. You know, he could have gotten a divorce, like all for what? So Nicole was the one that reported Shanann and the girls missing after Shanann did not answer her phone calls, Shanann missed her doctor's appointment, which is very unusual. So Nicole went to their house at 12:10 on August 13th and the door was unanswered, so she called the police to let them know, and Chris Watts came home. Chris Watts greeted the police officer and he gave the police officer permission to search his home. So the police officer searched the home, didn't find anything suspicious, but did find that Shanann's phone, wallet, and keys were in the house. So she left them and her car was still in the garage and her wedding ring was on the bed. So she didn't take anything with her. Nothing at all. The FBI joined this investigation a day later. So imagine how serious this got if the FBI is going to join a missing persons investigation. So initially, Chris Watts told the police he didn't know where they were, and then he did an interview with some Denver news station pleading for them to come back. I will insert a video. It is so annoying because he knows what he's done. He knows he was guilty, yet he's acting nonchalant about it. Very cold, very neutral, like he doesn't really care. And I think this was one of the biggest giveaways as well, like the way he acted on like the news station and all.
I want everybody to just come home. Like wherever they're at, come home. That's what I want. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
And also when the neighbors who had a security camera, it showed Chris pulling out of garage, at like 4 or 5 a.m. even though he claimed he didn't, so that was another giveaway. But basically when the neighbor, Chris, and the police or the FBI reviewed the security footage at the neighbor's house or Chris's house, there was a video about this. He had very nervous facial expressions, body language. Even the neighbor knew he was suspicious, like based on his body language, his demeanor. You know, you could tell he was guilty, so he was arrested. So yeah, he was arrested on August 15, 2018 after he failed a polygraph test. Then subsequently confessed to murdering Shanann. However, before he did, to the investigators, he asked to bring his dad in, and he admitted to his dad he was having an affair. Her name was Nikki, and I believe Shanann knew about this. I believe she did. The thing is, he told the investigators that he strangled Shanann out of rage because Shanann strangled the daughter. So because Shanann strangled the daughters, he strangled her, which doesn't add up. It's not true. It was just an excuse. He did it to all three of them. On August 21st, Watts was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, including an additional count per child, because you get an additional count when it's a death of a child under 12 years old. I didn't know this, but apparently that's how it was. Maybe just in Colorado, I'm not really sure, because the defendant was in a position of trust, which the father, you know, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body. He was denied bail in his first court appearance. At a later hearing, his bail was set at $5 million. He had to put down 15% to be released. In an interview on Dr. Phil, Watts' lawyer just told the whole story. According to the lawyer, I'm going to read it for you. The lawyer claimed that he confessed to killing Shanann after an argument regarding divorce. During the murder, Bella walked in. He then told her that Shanann was sick. He loaded Shanann's body and the girls without their car seats into the back seat of his work truck. Later, he smothered them one after the other with a blanket there. Watts pleaded guilty to the murders on November 6th of 2018. When they went to court, you could see how emotional the mom, dad, and brother of Shanann were. Their speeches, my heart broke for them, and I will include some clips of part of their speeches. It was just very emotional, or their statements, I mean, and I will include that.
Thank you. Love you, Shanann, Bella, and Nico. Love you, Pop and Dad. And one other thing. And Shanann says she is super excited for justice today. Thank you, Your Honor.
You took away my privilege of being an uncle to the most precious little girls I've ever known. I will never hear the words Uncle Frankie again, but you will never be called Dad again either. You'll never be able to put your hands on another woman, let alone my best friend, my beloved sister.
There will always be protected by God and His mighty angels. I didn't want death for you because that's not my right. Your life is between you and God now, and I pray that he has mercy for you.
Also, Cindy Watts, Chris Watts' mother, spoke, and a lot of people were upset because she said that she still loved and forgave her son, and a lot of people said she had no place to say that because it wasn't her child that was murdered.
We love you, and we forgive you, son.
Chris Watts' mom was always cold towards Shanann and the girls. She knew that the girls had allergies, yet she still gave them tree nuts, which they were allergic to, and all these kinds of things. People were upset, said of course he's like the way he is. He comes from a very narcissistic family. Also, to mention, this is a very important part as well, so continue watching. The death penalty was not put forward because Shanann's family actually requested not to do that because they didn't want to lose another life. Now thinking about it, it was also because they knew he would suffer in prison way more, because you know what they do to people in prison that have, you know, messed with children, and you know now he was be well known and everything. I mean, I suspect that is, even though no one who truly knows what happens when we die, still, you know, his life being taken away from him is just the easy way out, right? On November 19th, he was sentenced to the 5 life sentences, 3 consecutive and 2 concurrent, without the possibility of parole. He received the additional 48 years for the unlawful termination of pregnancy, and 36 years for 3 charges of tampering with the deceased body. So when I was younger, I would always wonder, why do they say 1,000 years? Obviously no one can live for 1,000 years, but they do that to show the severity of the crime. Instead of saying you're spending your whole life in jail, they'll be like you're spending 1,000 years, to show the severity of the crime. Because there could be someone who has just ended the life of one person and they could say life sentence, but one that has done a mass murder and say life sentence. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? So that is why, which when I was younger, I always thought, like, why don't they just say his whole life? Why 1,000 years? Like, he's not gonna be alive for 1,000 years. But I guess it's to show the severity of the crime. So after this, he had his $5 million bail revoked and remained in custody. On December 3rd of 2018, Watts was moved from the prison he was in to another one due to security concerns. People are speculating that the inmates knew who he was and were messing with him. His life was in danger or whatnot. December 5th of 2018, he arrived at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin to continue serving his life sentence. On September 30th of 2020, Netflix released American Murder, The Family Next Door, and I watched the documentary. It's not acting, it's basically, it shows actual footage, home movies, social media posts, text messages, and law enforcement recordings. Now, you know how I mentioned Nikki, the mistress, the affair? Here's where she kind of comes into play. So people are speculating if she's totally innocent in this, if she knew that he was planning on murdering his family. She knew that Chris was married and was going to get a divorce, but did she know that he was about to murder them? So now, she wasn't charged with anything, but that's kind of still ongoing because, you know, some YouTubers I'm watching, they're saying that, you know, it's a bit suspicious because, you know, she had to have known something, like she knew that he went to the oil tanks, like something like that, and we don't really know. But so there was an article a few weeks ago posted on Christmas Eve saying Chris Watts hates the holidays in prison. He's in a hell of his own making. And some people are saying it's funny. Like, obviously he would hate the holidays. Who wouldn't hate the holidays if you were in prison? So what kind of a stupid article is this? But he does have a lot of people on his side. Some women are writing him in. He has pen pals. People are on his side. He has lawyers. People are trying to fight for this guy because he wants out of prison. He wants to get out. Like, what kind of a narcissistic psycho sociopath are you? These types of people, they just do not belong in society. They are dangerous. And then he was talking about how bland the food is. Like, excuse me, that should be the least of your concerns right now. But you know, they're saying that no one wants to buy the house. Of course, someone was murdered in there. There's a murder in there. And now it's selling for double. But basically, so you know how you're supposed to collect insurance, like life insurance, if like someone in your family passes away? Well, here's where there was a battle, and I'll tell you what I meant about the back to Cindy Watts. Shanann's family have placed a lien, L-I-E-N, of over $6 million on the Colorado home. This is following the couple's winning $600,000 civil lawsuit against Chris Watts, so they got a civil suit. Coincidentally, this figure is said to be the estimated value of the house. It was a nice house. I saw on the inside, like, it was just, you know, they seemed like the picture-perfect family. You know, Shanann would live stream, they seemed happy, but you guys have to understand, just because someone's parents are together, and because they live in a nice place, it does not mean their family's all happy. It doesn't mean there's no abuse happening. I have to say this again. Just because someone lives in a good home, according to you, their parents are together, does not mean they're living happily. Okay, and I relate to this. I feel this on a personal level. It does not mean that they're okay. So please do not judge based on the outside. What I was saying about the insurance is parents of Chris Watts, what they cared about, what they wanted to know is who the insurance money will go to, and they think it should go to them. Your son just murdered your grandkids and your daughter-in-law, and right now you care about who gets the money? And people were arguing, no, Shanann's family deserves all the money. Look at the suffering they went through. Willing left Shanann's family with a payout of over $300,000, and Chris's parents with $75,000. So, you know, way less. But still, you know, according to law, you can't really get like the full amount if someone in your family terminated, like if someone ended someone else's life. Like they can't collect it because you murdered them. Like you can't. That's just very, very selfish. There are some updates coming out who he wants a 35C appeal, and I will briefly mention what it is because I didn't know what it was. And he's just doing everything he can to possibly reduce his sentence. You know, I'm pretty sure, you know, this case is pretty straightforward. You guys understand it. You know, it's still kind of ongoing. You know, he wants to get out of there. He doesn't like it. Like, no kidding. But now he's actually he has a friend in jail who has done the same thing he's done, just murdered his family. And it seems like he has slight remorse, but he also doesn't. It is very screwed up. You shouldn't have to worry that the very people you're trusting and the very people who gave birth to you are going to literally end your life. Lost their minds, and people that, you know, just narcissistic, psychopath, sociopath can be caused by mental illnesses. They can go haywire in any moment. They don't even realize it, guys. They lose grip of life, they lose control, and it's not even in their brains that this is my daughter, this is my wife, this is my son, this is anything, this is my husband. Like, they just do it. These mental illnesses can damage people. That's what I'm saying, guys. It's really important to get help for your issues. A lot of people do not believe in therapy and that. But guys, if you leave these things untreated, one day you can end up doing something you really regret. Or someone else can do that. Please, guys, if you think that something isn't right, you please seek help because it's not normal and it could lead to bigger problems. And to anybody who is, you know, I can't even say if you're in abusive situations because Chris was never like abusive or anything as reported. It just came out of nowhere. That's the thing, you don't know. But guys, even if you have the slightest red flags, act on it. Slightest gut feeling, because our gut feelings are right 99% of the time. The person seems very nice, very happy. If your gut's telling you something's not right, it's not right. And you might think it's just anxiety, because I think that a lot about my gut feeling. But when my gut tells me something, it ends up being right a lot of the time. So please never ignore it. And please do not let this case scare you, make you fearful about your father, parent. Don't make it feel like you can't trust anybody, because these cases are rare. Like, if you, statistically speaking, like the chances of this happening are very low. Like, it may seem like every dad's like this, every parent's going to hurt their family. Like, again, we don't see the positives. We don't see the positives of what fathers do, what mothers do, what anybody does. We see the negatives. So this might make people think that, you know, your own family can just life, but do not live in that fear. And if you have any fear, you can't sleep at night, you're very anxious about this or anything else, please go seek professional help. Talk to a therapist. I will leave some numbers either on the screen or below of like helplines you can call. If you guys need help, you can always talk to me as well. Life is very unpredictable, but staying positive and strong is extremely important. I hope Shanann's family finds the peace that they deserve. And of course, Shanann and the girls are watching over their mom, because even the mom felt the presence. But thank you guys for watching. Let me know if you guys like these types of videos, these crime commentary. I watch like freaking jail documentaries at 4 a.m. and I'm not scared. Like, it's really interesting what you guys want to see, and I would love to do the video. Even leave specific cases or specific events. I will comment on it, react to it, anything like that. I'll even do my own research, don't worry. So thanks guys again for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.